At the center of one of the most strangest cases in history, a 28-year-old man named Lars Mittank is on vacation with friends. Suddenly, he begins to act paranoid, and days later, he's seen sprinting out of an airport. This is the last known footage of Lars Mittank, and he's never been seen alive again since. Lars Joachim Mittank was an athletic 28-year-old man, born on February 9, 1986 in Germany. Lars was an extremely busy man in his day-to-day life, from school to working in a power plant and taking care of his father whose health was ailing. All of these responsibilities and commitments left little to no time in the day to truly enjoy himself. So in July of 2014, Lars decided to go on a vacation with friends to Varna, Bulgaria, a beautiful coastal city on the Black Sea. It was supposed to be a week of partying, beach days, and relaxation. Unfortunately for Lars, things would start going wrong immediately. On July 6, the day before Lars' flight is scheduled to leave, he's seen in a sports bar cheering on his favorite team, Werder Bremen. As he is enjoying himself, reportedly, he gets in a heated argument with other people in the bar. It's not known if they were locals or tourists themselves, but we do know they were fans of FC Bayern Munich. Not wanting to get into trouble, Lars and the group decide to separate themselves from the scene and depart for a nearby McDonald's. Lars leaves his group of friends as he wasn't in the mood to eat and decides to head back to the hotel. As the group return to the hotel, they notice something is off. Lars isn't at the hotel waiting for them. In fact, there's no sign of Lars at all. "It's fine," they say. "He's a big boy, he can handle himself." And with that, they wouldn't see Lars till the very next day. The following morning comes and Lars Mittank shows up to the hotel, but he's not well. He tells his friends how while he was gone, 4 men followed and attacked him, and more than likely they were hired by the same men he was arguing with at the bar. This story must have sounded strange when his friends heard it, but without being there with him, they simply took his word for it and advised him to go to the doctor. At the doctor's, he was prescribed a drug, cefprozil, and after the doctor's visit, the problems would only begin to mount for Lars. Heavier and heavier and heavier. At the doctor's office, Lars is diagnosed with an injured jaw and a ruptured eardrum. Nothing life-changing in the moment. However, the doctor prescribes cefprozil to treat the injuries and advises him not to fly back to Germany with his friends. The plane's altitude, the doctor warns, could cause unforeseen medical complications. Upon hearing this, Lars informs his friends. Now they're in a predicament. Do they miss the pre-booked, prepaid flight to stay behind and care for a grown man? Or do they board the plane and head home, trusting he'll be alright on his own? After much deliberation, they decide not to leave Lars behind. But Lars vehemently denies the idea that his friends should drop everything for him. He speaks confidently and without hesitation. It seems like he just had a rough night. Besides, wouldn't you act a little strange too if you'd been out partying and drinking all night in a foreign country? Maybe Lars just needed some rest and the antibiotics to kick in. Eventually, with some reassurances from Lars, the group boards the flight and leaves him behind. "It's fine," they said. "He's a big boy, and he can handle himself." However, that would be the last time they ever saw him again. Lars proceeds to check into a nearby budget hotel. It's called Color Hotel, just a short walk from the airport. Around this time is when Lars Mittank would start to unravel. While staying at the hotel, Lars' behavior became increasingly erratic. Staff reportedly saw him pacing up and down the halls, looking out of windows in a frantic manner, and even hiding in the elevator for an unknown reason. Needless to say, the staff found Lars to be very paranoid and a suspicious person. Lars would call his mother, telling her about the men who were after him. He told her to cancel all of his credit cards because of these men, and even went as far as to say that if he didn't get out of there soon, he'd be as good as dead. Despite these strange developments, Lars eventually made it to Varna Airport on July 8th, but he would never board his flight back home. After his paranoia-filled stay at Hotel Color, Lars makes his way to the airport, preparing to board his flight back to Germany. However, before he can proceed, he needs to be medically cleared by an airport doctor named Kosta Kostov. As Dr. Kostov begins the examination, he quickly notices Lars' paranoia and visibly nervous demeanor. During the checkup, Lars expresses concern about the medication he has been prescribed and asks several questions in an anxious manner. Suddenly, an unknown man enters the room. He is believed to have been a construction worker renovating part of the airport and had mistakenly walked in. But to Lars, this was the final straw. His anxiety spirals into full-blown panic, and his fight-or-flight response kicks in. He bolts out of the room and out of the airport, repeatedly screaming, "I don't want to die here. I've got to get out of here." Airport security cameras capture Lars fleeing the terminal. Once outside, he's seen jogging away from the airport, climbing over a fence, and running into a nearby meadow. He then sprints out of frame, heading towards the forest. Those would be his last confirmed whereabouts. So, what happened to Lars Mittank? There are two possible scenarios, both equally terrifying. Going back to July 6th, the night Lars left the bar and made his way back to the hotel. He claimed to have been followed and attacked by men who wanted to kill him. While there's no recorded proof of this fight, Lars was later diagnosed with a ruptured eardrum caused by a blow to the head. That diagnosis may have downplayed a more serious outcome, a subdural brain hemorrhage, a type of brain bleed that can occur after blunt force trauma has been applied to the head, sometimes without immediate symptoms. Subdural hemorrhages can cause delayed neurological effects, including confusion, mood swings, and increasing paranoia as pressure builds on the brain. After the alleged fight, the doctor Lars visits prescribes him cefprozil, a cephalosporin antibiotic. Though rare, certain cephalosporins have been documented to cross the blood-brain barrier and cause neuropsychiatric side effects in sensitive individuals, such as hallucinations, anxiety, and even psychosis. Cefprozil could have dramatically worsened his mental state. In the days that followed, witnesses reported Lars acting increasingly strange. He was seen pacing hotel hallways, hiding in odd places, sending paranoid messages to his mother, and ultimately fleeing the airport in a visible state of panic. When you combine head trauma, neurologically active medication, sleep deprivation, and isolation in a foreign country, the final result could have been a psychotic break. Lars may have genuinely believed he was being followed or targeted, and without his usual support systems, that delusion took over, leading to his final moments caught on camera. Or what if he was being watched, or more specifically, targeted? Lars being alone, injured, and in a foreign country with no immediate friendly support became an easy target to exploit by nefarious individuals with sinister motives. Bulgaria, like much of Eastern Europe, is no stranger to human trafficking rings. In fact, it's long been a known transit point for organ trafficking operations and illicit underground networks. At the Hotel Color, when Lars is messaging his mother, he tells her a very specific request: cancel his SIM card and leave his bank cards open. Why would a man who is experiencing a psychotic break ask for such a specific request if he is losing all sense of reality from a brain bleed? Furthermore, it makes complete sense to leave his bank cards untouched and have his SIM card cancelled so he can have access to funds at all times and prevent tracking from his cell phone if he was truly being followed. Then came the moment at the airport clinic. Why would a construction worker, completely unrelated to the clinic, suddenly open the doctor's office door? Why? Why would a random worker in the middle of a job walk into a private exam room? It makes no sense. Unless it wasn't random. You might ask, what if he was hallucinating, but the doctor confirms there was an intrusion by an unexpected worker entering the room. If Lars had a subdural brain hemorrhage from his earlier fight, paired with the psychiatric side effects of cefprozil, his mind may have been unraveling, just enough to confuse truth with delusion. So maybe the danger was real. Maybe a sinister reality and psychosis collided. Maybe Lars wasn't running from delusions. But the sad truth is, we will never know what exactly Lars was running from. All we have left is the last known footage of Lars Mittank. Hey guys, thank you so much for making me part of your day. It really means the world to me. Let me know what you think happened to Lars. This was a really interesting case to look into, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. This is definitely fun. I think I'm going to be doing this more often, this whole YouTube thing, so hopefully you guys stick around, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.